On to other stories, the Ministry of Industry and Commerce notes that the hunger strike launched by a group of workers inside the Kahata graphite mine in Doramgaslanda has been called off. According to the Secretary to the Ministry, Anura Siriwardana, talks between officials and the workers concluded successfully, and the Ministry has agreed to consider the requests made by the workers. Earlier, the Ministry of Industry and Commerce appointed a special committee to inquire into the hunger strike.
The workers commenced a hunger strike inside the Kahata graphite mine in Doramgaslanda, citing several demands. The relatives of the workers who engaged in the hunger strike were also not permitted to enter the area.
We are worried about their safety. If something happens to my husband, my kids and I have no one else.
Meanwhile, chairman of the Jatika Sevaka Sangamaya, Vasanta Samarasinghe, arrived at the location. The Kahata graphite mine workers have commenced the strike citing reasonable demands. Even though they do not have a trade union, the Intercompanies Employees Union will work to win their demands. Our correspondent said that certain workers who were engaged in the hunger strike had come out of the mine today. We did not come out because of any promise. If someone intervenes and fulfills our demands, we will agree to hold discussions. Chairman of the Kahata graphite mine, D. Kalan Surya, also arrived near the mine but refrained from speaking to the media. The workers commenced the hunger strike last morning inside a mine which is 1,200 feet deep. Footage of the hunger strike was captured through a mobile phone. The workers have cited a number of issues, including the non-payment of bonus allowances and not confirming their employment.
Three legal associations have called for Sri Lanka's suspension from the Commonwealth and have included a resolution in this regard in the agenda of a meeting that will be convened in Cape Town, South Africa. The BBC reports that the Commonwealth Lawyers Association, the Commonwealth Legal Education Association and the Commonwealth Magistrates and Judges Association are expected to pass this resolution when they convene in Cape Town.
The resolution indicated that Sri Lanka has been acting in violation of the Commonwealth principles and Sri Lanka should be suspended from the body. The meeting of Commonwealth ministers will be held on the 26th of this month. The three legal bodies have pointed out that by hosting the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Sri Lanka in November, the reputation of the body of former British colonies would be tarnished. According to the BBC, the Asian Human Rights Association has said that Sri Lanka was propagated as a nation that does not respect the judiciary after the controversial impeachment of former Chief Justice Dr. Shirani Bandaranayake.
Now, Chulananda Pereira, who is the Immigration and Immigration Controller, says that former Chief Justice Dr. Shirani Bandaranayake has been barred from leaving the country. Chulananda Pereira said that this measure was taken after he was informed by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption on the 12th of this month. He added that the respective appraisals have been made in this regard. Chulananda Pereira said that the order will be in effect until the 12th of July.
A case filed at the Mount Lavinia District Court preventing Nishantha Ranatunga from contesting for the post of Secretary of Sri Lanka Cricket was taken up once again today. The enjoining order issued in this regard was removed on the 8th of this month and case was called before District Judge Priyantha Fernando. At the hearing, the judge had said that the defendants can file their objection in this regard on the 21st of next month. The complainants did not raise any objection to the removal of the enjoining order and the defendants were ordered to file their objections on the 21st of May.
Moving on to more local news. Politicians and media organizations have issued communiques regarding the threats that have been leveled at MTV MBC networks and the journalists attached to the network.
Issuing a communique, United National Party parliamentarian Karu Jayasuriya says that if one thinks that a media institution such as MTV and BC media networks can be intimidated by threats. He is an immature individual. The communique issued by MP Jayasuriya goes on to note that whenever threats were levelled against the Citizen Media Network, the organisation didn't surrender but fought against such threats and grew more stronger as a result. He further adds that when the MTV MBC Media Networks were attacked on previous occasions, details were provided to the security divisions prior to those attacks. However, in a background where attention was not focused on these details, the threats became a reality. Karo Jayasuriya says that the government cannot set aside this threat, considering it as mere assumptions. The communique adds that though the government has said that an unbiased investigation will be conducted into the incident, these statements have been deemed hilarious given the past where journalists were attacked and killed, similar to the assassination of senior journalist Lasantha Wickrematunge. The MP points out that MTV MBC is a media network that has gained the public trust as an unbiased and reputed organisation, and adds that the network is among the few mainstream media organisations that does not bend down to the whims and fancies of the government. In such a backdrop, MP Karo Jayasuriya adds that it is not difficult for one to understand who is attempting to control or instill fear within the Sirasa Media Network. MP Karo Jayasuriya reiterates that an impartial investigation should be conducted into the threats that have been levelled, and adds that the government is vested with the responsibility of ensuring the safety of the MTV MBC networks and its journalists. Issuing a press release, Transparency International Sri Lanka expressed serious concern about the threats on MTV MBC officers and its staff, and requested the Inspector General of Police and the security divisions to take immediate steps to ensure their safety. TISL in a statement urges the relevant authorities to take immediate action to hold a full inquiry. The statement adds that the threats made at one of the leading electronic media organizations in Sri Lanka, MTV MBC, and its staff members cannot be ignored. Addressing a letter to the President, leader of the Janasatha Peramuna, Venerable Battaramulla Silarathana Thera, has requested the head of state to direct his attention on a possible attack on the MTV MBC media networks. The Venerable Thera pointed out that certain factions are not pleased with the information revealed by the Sirasa Media Network, and that it is a fact known by all. He had requested the President to ensure that history does not repeat. The letter addressed to the President states that channels that telecast news by distorting the truth and the channels that operate to please the President are not pleased with this reality. Venerable Battaramulla Silarathana Thera says that it is a responsibility of the government and the people to ensure the safety of the MTV MBC media networks. The Venerable Thera had also requested the President to instruct the Inspector General of Police to take appropriate actions in this regard. Meanwhile, issuing a communique, the National Unity Alliance says that there is a possibility where media institutions are being targeted, and adds that security forces should take measures to immediately control the situation. In a release, General Secretary of the National Unity Alliance, Azad Sali, has requested an independent inquiry be initiated on the threats made at the MTV MBC media networks, and that adequate security must be provided to MTV MBC media networks.
Meanwhile, the Communications Unit of the United National Party also issued a statement on the threats that have been levelled against the MTV MBC media networks. United National Party parliamentarian Mangala Samaravira in the statement says that it is a thinly veiled attempt to intimidate the media into silence ahead of crucial polls about the crimes and lapses of a completely corrupt incumbency. Samaravira adds that each time the Sirasa Media Organisation is attacked, the organisation and personnel find the strength to pick up the pieces and carry on. He notes that the UNP salutes the courage and commitment of MTV and MBC journalists to their professional duty. He adds that therefore it is not surprising that a dangerous trend is being set, commencing with the twin attacks on the Udayan newspaper published in the country's north in the space of less than a month, and followed up with a threat against the MTV MBC media networks. In the statement, MP Samaravira calls upon the government to ensure the safety of the premises, equipment and personnel at MTV MBC media networks and the Udayan newspaper. Meanwhile, former Army Commander Sarath Fonseca, who is also the leader of the Democratic Party, convening a media briefing today, expressed the following views.
සිරසමාධ්‍ය වේදීන්ට එල්ල කරනවා කියන තර්ජන ගර්ජන ඔහුට මුණ පාන්න වෙලා තියෙන
We condemn the threats leveled at the MTV MBC media network and its journalists and also the dangerous situation they have to face. Even the international community condemns the suppression of media and the government-sponsored attacks on the media of this country. We know it and you too know it. Because of this disappointing situation, questions have arisen regarding media freedom.
නමුත් කනගාටුවට කරුණක් අහේතුවට මෙන් ඉතින් මේ කනගාටුදායක තත්ත්වය නිසා සමහරවිට මාධ්‍ය නිදහස ආරක්ෂා කිරීමත් ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙලා තියෙනවා.
Time now for the newspaper cartoon of the day.
Achala Priyadarshani, a law student at the University of Colombo, admitted to the Mathura General Hospital after fracturing her left arm by falling from a flight of stairs at her home. Achala's left arm amputated after being transferred to the National Hospital. A report on the incident handed over to the Secretary to the Ministry of Health. Were recommendations of the report implemented?